If you've ever wondered what happens when the strongest Zwift esports riders hit a chill course, welcome to Lime League. Because this one looks harmless, rolling roads, fast speeds, downhill finish, but every lap you got dragged into the Temple KOM. 2.5 kilometers of dirt that feels like riding through wet cement. And that's where the race actually starts. And on the final time up, I had to hold 7.2 watts per kilo for 5 minutes just to stay in the conversation. So in this video, you'll see the full KOs, the early calm, the first selection on the KOM, the constant chess match for wheels, and then the last climb where everyone goes from tactics to survival in about 10 seconds. If you're here for a relaxing spin, click away now. If you're here to want to see what top tier ZRL actually looks like, let's roll. Let's turn on the... Oh, we begin! We start the race and I was not focusing at all, but we got really fast back on track again right here. So I see a guy off the front already and I'm curious of who it is. So I do a very early push to the front just to spot who it is. But when I came to the front I decided it's nothing to worry about. Also I got to see who is jumping on my wheel and stuff like that, and I see Ed is on my wheel. But from here we just ride really easy actually until the climb. And at some point I decided to turn off my virtual gearing because it was doing weird stuff to my trainer, so I did that. Then there was only a few attacks, like one here, and then we moved on, and on the top here there was another where I attacked here. But it was mainly because the pace has been so slow and I wanted to make it more interesting for you guys. We came into the first Temple KOM segment and I didn't really know what to expect. It's like there are so many strong guys here, so nobody really wants to do a move, because you just burn matches and you know that you're going to be closed anyways and have guys on your wheel. So the first climb was actually very easy. We just pushed sometimes here and there. I think we dropped a couple guys, but not too many guys. And we are mostly the main pack when we get to the top. Now it was just some slow descending, save power for the next climb until the flats, until we are on the flat part in the middle of this climb. Then Hayden Pucker launches an attack and Nico Peller follows his move and eventually gets on his wheel. Nicolo also tries to follow his move, I can see, but he's stuck like in the middle, so he didn't bridge all the way. And they have a breakaway going. And Hayden Pucker is on my team, so I decide not to close this gap at any point. So from here on out I can just sit in and relax and chill. So that is what I do until the next climb. I just sit in and close some attacks that the other guys are doing and stuff like that, but I never try to close it myself. Coming into the next climb, this climb is super hot. Like crazy watts, I think like 500 for 3.5 minutes it was. So here is Ruben and Bryn off the front. They both push a lot and I decide to close this gap. I can't let Ruben go, he is crazy, so I can't let that happen. And the remainder follows and this makes the pace super hot. So I think right here we make some splits, I think. So I think like Ed Leverack and guys like that fell off right here. And the pace is still hot. Bryn is pushing red numbers and you don't want to let Bryn go either. He will have a huge advantage in the climbs since he's a lightweight guy, and you just gotta keep up. So we push through all the way to the top and we have a pretty decisive group here of super strong guys. So I think we are 9 people in the front group, or 10, not sure. So there are 3 guys from Rainbow Chasers. I got to be aware of that for the remainder of the race. And these guys are super eager to close the gap to Hayden Pucker that is in the front still with Nico Peller. So in the downhill here they change on pushing the pace. So eventually we close the gap to Hayden Pucker and Nico Peller, and they are in our group on the flat part before the climbs. So here Jan Steinman came with a joke and said that good, y'all can attack now because we caught Hayden Pucker. So I just, for the fun sakes of it, just jump off the front here and get a tiny gap. But I get a gap and I like think through this and I'm like, they are going to work together to close me all the way if I try this. so I will just burn all my matches doing these dumb things. So I decided not to go either way. We move and the pace is relatively easy all the way until the climb. In the climb, Bryn launches an attack at like 11 watts per kilo and I instantly respond to this to jump on his wheel. And from here on out, the pace is absolutely relentless. Bryn continues to push the pace at like red numbers all the way to the middle part right here. Then the pace slows down a bit, but then it gets picked up right again. And eventually Bryn gets a tiny gap to us other guys and Hayden Pucker jumps in on him. I see that a lot of guys has popped their feather already, which is a confidence booster for me because I don't need it yet. And I decide when the pace slows a bit down to launch an not all out attack, but a really hard attack. So I go up to like 8 watts per kilo and hold that for a while. I look behind, I see that I create a tiny gap to Ruben Daunt and a gang. They are 6 meters behind, so there is no draft anymore. And I just push through Bryn and Hayden. And we get a tiny gap, but I still see some huge red numbers from behind. I have 8 meters, 9 meters on Ruben, but it slowly turns down until 3-4 meters. So eventually he catches up and I decide to slow down right here. So we keep on pushing and I decide to stay a bit back in the pack instead. And be a bit conservative, save some power on the flat part right here. So I just chill in this area and I thought I can maybe build some momentum into the next climb segment, but we will see what will happen. And then I see there are red numbers again. I see Zach Nair is pushing really hard from behind. He is also popping his feather. I have not popped my feather yet, so I do it right now. And we push on further. I come up to Ruben and Zach Nair right here with my feather power up. And I decide to launch a little sprint when I come past them and see if I can get any response. So I push it up to 11 watts per kilo with the feather. And we're pushing through, coming up to the final climb. And I see that I'm getting a gap and this is really good. So on the top here, I decide to settle in for 7.5-ish watts per kilo until we get through the banner. When we get through the banner, it's basically downhill all the way to the finish, but it's 4 kilometers, so it's a long one. And I know here that I have to push super hard and then easy and do those surges to get maximum speed in the downhill. So I try a push here. Super hard push until we get over the top. And here I noticed that Ruben is chasing and he got a gap to the other guys. And I know this guy is crazy in the descents, so I fear that he is coming to approach me, and he does. But I keep pushing, I do the small surges, I push really hard, and then I stop for a couple seconds, and then I push really hard again for a couple seconds and then stop again for a couple seconds. And I do this all the way to the flat part. But at the flat part, he catches up with me and sends a very funny message, "Hey YouTube." So when I'm caught right here, I'm just embracing the final sprint. I'm thinking, how can I do this? How will I do this? Will I go early? Will I go late? Will I follow his wheel? I know that I usually have a better sprint than him, so I think that going after him is better, but I'm not sure. And also I got the feather power up, and I think like if I pop this one, I get more watts per kilo, but I did not determine that it's downhill and it might not be valuable to be 5 kilos lighter, but you don't know. So we come into the final sprint here, and I go all in, I peak at 1300 watts, and I push and I push and I push, and then we come across the line. No! And we lost with 0.02 seconds. It was so close. GG's Ruben. Thanks for watching and please give me a like if you can do that. Okay, goodbye.